in humans as well as in pigs. So, these are several types of influenza viruses that have caused previous pandemics and the present pandemic. Let us look at the next slide. These are the electron micrograph photographs of the influenza virus. The electron microscopic photographs of influenza virus. On the left side we have got the present H1N1 pandemic virus, and on the 1918 H1N1 pandemic virus is on the right side. There is a slight difference in the structural arrangement, though the H and N are the same. The internal protein composition of the previous pandemic virus is different from the protein composition of the present pandemic virus. This H1N1 1918 pandemic virus is highly virulent and caused a very severe loss of people as well as lot of morbidity in the year 1918. So, what are the differences between the seasonal virus and the pandemic flu virus? Seasonal influenza virus, as I told you, contains 8 proteins inside, and look here, there are 6 grey colored proteins and 1 green one and 1 yellow one, and of course it has got the neuraminidase round receptors and the spike like hemagglutinin receptors. By mechanisms called as antigenic drift and antigenic shift, there will be a change in the or alteration in the antigenic structure and in the protein composition, RNA protein composition of the virus. So, if the protein composition has not changed and if there is only a change in the exterior antigenicity, this is called antigenic drift. Look here, the spike like thing, the spear like thing has been reduced to half spear, and then the round like neuraminidase antigen has been reduced to half of it. So, there are some changes in the antigenic shape and structure on the expressivity, but the inner protein coat or protein content or the 8 different proteins have not changed. Such a change is called antigenic drift. The other thing that could happen is there could be an antigenic shift by mixing of this human influenza virus with avian and swine viruses. There could be an antigenic shift wherein the proteins can change. The yellow protein is replaced by a red protein, and the outer neuraminases and the hemagglutinins are replaced by different types of arrangement of neuraminidase and the hemagglutinin receptors. Such a gross change in the virus is called the antigenic shift. Seasonal influenza virus, predictable annual occurrence and residual immunity in the population will be there. Whereas, if the virus undergoes drift or shift, what will happen is a pandemic influenza like virus will develop, and it will have unpredictable rare occurrence, and it is new to the population. Population do not know what this virus is, so they are naive, and then there is no residual immunity at all in the population. This is how original influenza virus H1N1 is transformed into a more pathogenic pandemic type of virus by 2 mechanisms. One called the antigenic drift, wherein there is no change in the structural proteins, but only the outer expressed antigenic structure only changes, whereas the antigenic shift means there is a change in the structural RNA proteins of the virus along with the structural change on the expressed antigenicity on the surface of the virion also. Basically, the flu viruses affect 3 types of animals or organisms: the avian or the birds, the swine or the lower mammals, and the human flu viruses. So, this green area represents the avian proteins of the virus. The red area represents the swine proteins of the virus in the RNA, and the blue and the gray areas, they represent the human part of the proteins of the virus. Because of the antigenic intermixing between the avian and the swine and the human viruses, there will be new viruses which develop, which antigens drawn from the 3 different segments, and that is how the present pandemic influenza virus H1N1, the variant has developed, which has got some elements of the swine and some elements of the avian, and majority of the elements are from the human beings. So, though this is a human virus, it is modified in such a way that the antigenic structure of it, some of the proteins of the virion, among the 8 proteins, some of them are derived from the avian virus, some of them are derived from the swine virus, and this modified new virus is exhibiting higher virulence and then penetration into the human population. With the result, the pandemic influenza has now surfaced. As I have already explained, due to the mechanism of antigenic shift, this is the human strain which is less pathogenic and then not very virulent, whereas the highly pathogenic and avian strain which is highly virulent. By a combination of the antigenic material and genetic reassortment between the two viruses when they infect the pig, let us say if the human virus as well as the avian virus take seat in the pig's body, pig's epithelium, respiratory epithelium, then there will be exchange of these antigenic materials in the pig, and that results in a new highly pathogenic human strain will develop, and this comes out from the pig and infects the human being, and from then onwards it gets transmitted between one human being to another without the necessity for the pig being there. This is what exactly has happened. The virulence of the avian strain has been coupled to the penetrance of the human strain. So, the human strain can get transmitted from one person to another without any intermediary. The avian strain is highly virulent. So, these two characters have been mixed up and then brought into one virus. With the result, the highly pathogenic human new strain has developed, which is causing the present pandemic. Orthomyxoviridae family, single stranded RNA, as I told you, high mutagenicity because of their RNA viruses. Two viruses co-infect the same cell, new virus with segments of both will develop. A mix of the avian, swine and human genes of the virus occurs. This is a genetic reassortment and does not require pigs as the intermediary for transmission. Swine flu is, as I told you, is now named as H1N1V. Present pandemic is caused by H1N1V. This is less virulent compared to the avian flu, which is H5N1, but more virulent than the seasonal flu H1N1. For the antigenic drift, there will be some rearrangement of the outer antigenic structure of the virus. There is no change in the inner makeup of the virus. The inner 8 proteins remain the same. Because the outer antigenicity changes, the immunity that is there in the population will not be able to protect against the new viral infection. This is antigenic drift. There is no major change in the protein structure of the virus. Whereas, when there is antigenic shift, some of the avian features of the virus, this is an avian influenza virus, they get tagged on into the human virus, and then which is further processed by the pigs. In the pigs, the avian virus, the human virus together co-infect the pig's epithelium, and within that the virion exchanges all the genetic material and a new virion develops, and this new virus has got not only a change in the outer antigenicity but also a change in the inner core proteins also. This mutated virus is virulent according to the virulence of the avian nature, and it is having the penetrance or human to human transmission capability derived from the human beings. These two together will make this virus a more virulent one and cause the pandemic, and that is what exactly has happened, and this is what is called the antigenic